and we look forward to it. We look forward to the day that it arrives. My feeling is, why can't you live your whole life like that? If we're so good at planning vacations, why can't we plan our next car, our next house, our next vacation, our next spiritual moment, our next workout moment, our next health, our next hobby? Why can't we plan all those things, our next growth for business, and anticipate all those things happening and coming into our lives at the same time? When you live a life that's full of anticipation, there's just no other way to live. I mean, it's like having a whole nother person next to you that's just pushing you forward and driving that energy that it takes to require those things. And in my mind, there's no other way to do it.
Welcome to A Founder's Life, and I'm your host, Leo Gestetner. My guests and myself share our entrepreneurial journeys and our methods for a balanced life. And I'm joined here today by Ken Rusk. Ken, thank you for joining us today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thanks, Leo. Thanks for having me. I guess you could call me a blue-collar entrepreneur, if that's whatever that means. That's what most people tend to call me, although I haven't quite defined that yet. Yeah, it's been an interesting journey for me, starting very young when I was 15, doing a bunch of odd jobs, to now running a corporation that has several construction companies involved. And, it's always amazing to deal with people, to deal with the public, and to see what makes people tick. And that's kind of what I've been focused on this last 3 or 4 decades. So.
Nice. So talk to us a little bit about that journey that took you to where you are today.
Well, like everyone, I wanted to get my first new used car when I was 15, take my girlfriend out for pizza, go bowling with my friends. And, you have to have some funding for that. So my high school, I actually shared a fence with an industrial park next door. And we would cut through a hole in that fence to go to the carryout, the store after school, just hang out there. This was before screens, before all these screens took our lives over. And we'd walk through this industrial park, and there was always these businesses that were milling about, busy, running around, people doing things. So I figured I could, find a job in one of these businesses. And I knocked on one of the doors. I knew somebody that worked there, and they dug ditches for a living, literally dug ditches. And I said, I'm qualified to do that. So in the summertime, I would dig ditches. In the wintertime, I'd work in the office after school. And when I became 18, 19 years old, it was either go to college or jump into the work world. And they offered me a position opening up new franchises around the country. So at 18, I put on what I could cobble together of a suit and a tie, and went around the Midwest and opened up franchises for new owners. And, that was kind of like my college. It was kind of like trial by fire, So I did that for 3 or 4 years, got tired of living out of a suitcase and airplanes, and settled in Northwest Ohio, and started in '86 with 6 people. And I think we have 200 and some people today. So it's been a hell of a ride.
That sounds it, as you said, sort of the blue-collar entrepreneur. I absolutely love that. And tell us what family means to you.
Family to me means it has to start with freedom, because so many times you can't develop a family the way you want to without the freedom to do so and the time to do so. And as people get older, one of the things that they always realize is that time is way more important than money. God forbid you have both of those things, right? So for me, it's about being able to create memories with those people close around me. And I mean my friends and my family. And I've always said, he who dies with the most good memories wins. And so for me, it's all about how can I create enough freedom and time and space to, design and go out on and create these awesome memories with my family, and, look back on it and say, I did the right thing.
And have you got kids?
I do. I've got one daughter, and recently we have one granddaughter now. So she's 18 months old, and she's just an absolute blessing. So my only problem with that whole situation is not only the word grandpa, because I don't feel like I'm a grandpa yet, but my daughter sends me these pictures all the time, and so I'm constantly changing my screensaver on the front of my phone for the new latest and greatest picture of our little Vivian Rose, who is just a joy for all of us.
Love that. And tell me about your health journey. So for you, what does health, whether that be physical health, mental health, sleep, nutrition, what does health look like for you?
Well, I'm a creature of habit. I've had the same protein shake at 7 o'clock in the morning for the last 40 years. although I've altered and added to the formula of that, and it's rather sophisticated, but it's amazing. I do blood tests, the 40 to 50 panel blood tests every quarter. I'm kind of a health hobbyist, so I track that and supplement as necessary based on those results. Really into longevity right now. I'm really into stem cells and exosomes and biologics and peptides and all that kind of thing. So I'm really heavy into exploring that kind of stuff. And then I exercise and work out a lot, play golf a lot. And I just try to keep it rolling, as they say, right?
Well, sounds like you're definitely on top of what's needed. And what do you... Sorry, go on.
As you crest 50 years old and then now you're near 60 years old and moving on from there, you got to do what you can on offense so that you can play defense once in a while, right?
Very true. And what do you like to do for fun?
Well, typically, if it's not messing around with my cars, I'm kind of a car collector. It's I'm on the golf course or I'm running around with my boat. Hopefully, my family's involved in as many of those things as possible. Yeah, I love cooking around the house. We're big cooks. My son-in-law is a great cook, and my wife and my daughter, we all get together and cook a lot together as a family. I think, believe it or not, COVID helped create a lot of those great moments, getting people together and keeping them together, and that's what started that for us. And we discovered we'd love to do these types of cooking things together, and so we're still doing that. But yeah, just again, having the time and the space to do it is everything, and I work really hard to create that.
As you said, it's about the work. It's what you put into it. I was talking to somebody earlier about relationship with children who was saying as they get older, they will probably want to spend less time with you as kids are younger. And I'm like, well, my kids love spending time with me, but I put the work in, as in they know that I'm a present father and I'll always put them first. So I think if you put the work in, it's a gift that keeps giving.
There's no question about that. People have asked me, I think I've been on your number 308 podcast I've been on in the past couple of years after I wrote the book. And people ask me, you seem to be really insanely positive all the time and look at everything as half full, not half empty, and, go forward in timed pathways and hopes and wishes and dreams and all that. But what annoys you? And I said, I think the biggest thing that annoys me more than anything is bad parents. Parents that either neglect their kids or abuse their kids or don't support their kids or belittle their kids or, don't spend time with their kids. That to me is malpractice, because what parents don't realize is kids typically are blank computers, and you download almost everything onto that computer. And if you're not careful, you're going to create the very thing that you wouldn't want to have. So, bad parenting is something that I'm glad you talk a lot about that. So I'm glad to hear that, because I think it's really important.
Definitely, I think you're right. I like the blank computer description. And how does a balanced life look for you?
Well, I just said this the other day. I was with some friends in Scotland and we were golfing, and they talked about planning and organizing your life. And one of the things that I said was, on Monday when I go in, the first thing I do is plan me. I plan my workouts, I plan my golf games, I plan my fun, I plan my family time, I plan, the dinners I want to have with my family or whatever I do. And then I plan work around that. And most people go, well, that's not for everybody. Well, it kind of is, because if you say to yourself, I'd really like to get to the gym this week, it's never going to happen. If you say, I'm going to the gym at 4:00 to meet my buddy Leo. I'm going to go Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4:00, and I'm going to meet Leo, and we're going to work out. Well, now that's something. That's concrete. It's there. And Leo, being yourself, is probably going to be waiting at the gym at 3:59 for me, going, where is he? I want to get my workout going. So that, to me, is how you should definitely plan your life, because otherwise you're hoping something fun happens spontaneously. You're hoping that something happens where all of a sudden there's an hour of time and you can go do the things you want to do. That's not the way it works. As much as you plan your meetings and your work schedules and your whatever else, you have to plan your fun. That's just the way the world works now. And so I start on Monday planning me first and then work around it from there.
Again, something else I agree 100% on with you. I think I often say in my coaching to people, if you don't schedule it, it doesn't happen.
Well, we know that to be true. And I can tell you that, the road is paved with the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? That's what they say. And it's true, because, you're it's not like you're a bad person. You're well-meaning. You're intending to do these things. You just haven't been taught yet that if it's not a timed pathway, it's not going to happen. It's going to remain in hope land or dreamland or wish land. And I'm not against hopes and dreams and wishes, but if you don't have a timed pathway to accompany them, they remain in that weird world of nothingness that never really happens. So.
Yeah, I mean, like for me, my workouts, for example, are scheduled a month in advance. And doesn't mean they don't get moved if there's a reason why they need to get moved, and some might get cancelled because I've just got stuff I have to do. But I know if they're not in there and that time isn't blocked out, that time will get taken out by other things.
Yes, yeah, it absolutely will. They're called time vampires, and they take the life out of you if you're not careful, that's for sure.
Yeah. And what for you has been a pivotal moment in your life?
I think every entrepreneur, they start out running their business, and then they end up with the business running them. You either happen to life or life is going to happen to you. There's no other, it's either one or the other. So that's what I said a moment ago. I mean, my personal life has to happen for me. I can't wait for it to happen to me. I think a pivotal moment in my life was when early on in my career, I decided when I got too busy, when I crossed 50, 60, 70 hours a week, I decided, no, that's not what this is about. I started this company so that I could have financial freedom, time freedom, space, spontaneity, all that kind of stuff. And I'm losing that right now. So replacing the tasks that I didn't want to do anymore so that I could get back to that time for me was very important. And so many people, as they run their companies, they get home on Friday or Saturday night and they beat their chest and oh man, you should see, I did this and I fixed that and I yelled at this person, I motivated that, I designed this program, I made this happen, I paid that bill. I also have high blood pressure, diabetes, and I can't remember my kid's first name, but I'm making some money, right? The first thing you need to do as an entrepreneur, and this is for me, has been all of it, Leo, is you have to decide to make yourself irrelevant to your company. And a lot of people, that's a tough pill to swallow, because I don't mean irrelevant as though you never show up. I'm saying irrelevant to the day-to-day mechanics of it, because you can't fully drive your company with vision and forecast and future if you're stuck in the trenches doing the work. So yeah, I think the pivotal moment for me was, hey, Ken, you're getting a little crazy now. Back it back down, get some help. And the good news is that, 5 or 10 or 15 entrepreneurial minds around you are going to help you drive your company way further than you can drive it yourself. That's for sure.
Well, I think my next question you probably already answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's one piece of advice you would give to an aspiring entrepreneur?
It would just be to make sure you always remember why you're doing it. I used to have vision boards where I would draw with colored pencils and I would draw the things that I wanted to manifest into my life. Now I just have these large examples of them surrounding me all the time, whether it's photographs or paintings or brochures or whatever they are. I'm constantly chasing something. And I believe in that because, I think we're all hardwired, Leo, on how to plan a vacation, okay? We think about, spring break in Florida maybe. We're going to have our feet in the sand. We're going to have our bathing suit on. We're going to have, our number 8 copper tone suntan lotion that smells so great. We're going to have the warm breeze in our face and the palm trees and our margarita and our stereo, our music and whatever. I mean, you can just feel and smell and sense that whole thing. Well, what we then do is we anticipate the 4 months between December and April before we go on that vacation, right? And we look forward to it. We look forward to the day that it arrives. My feeling is, why can't you live your whole life like that? If we're so good at planning vacations, why can't we plan our next car, our next house, our next vacation, our next spiritual moment, our next workout moment, our next health, our next hobby? Why can't we plan all those things, our next growth for business, and anticipate all those things happening and coming into our lives at the same time? When you live a life that's full of anticipation, there's just no other way to live. I mean, it's like having a whole nother person next to you that's just pushing you forward and driving that energy that it takes to require those things. And in my mind, there's no other way to do it.
Well, thank you. And tell us a little bit about your book that's hiding in the background there.
Yeah, that's my publisher's shameless self-promotion thing I have to do. I can look to the side and there it is right there. It's called Blue Collar Cash. And it's a book that I wrote when I was going through what I just talked about. I wrote it for the people that are waiting for life to happen to them. If thens. If I go to school and if I get good grades and if I get a scholarship and then if I go to college and if I get a degree and then if that degree gets me a job and then if that job pays well, then someday I'll get to live good. Wrong. You need to decide what you want your life to look like first in every detail and then figure out which path will get you there, whether it's a blue collar, a pink collar, a white collar, it doesn't matter. I don't think necessarily it's as important what you do for a living as it is what you do with what you do for a living. Meaning, the goal here is to live well. The goal here isn't to have a bunch of degrees on your wall or to have people go, oh, wow, you're an accountant or you're this or you're that. We all work for a reason. And that reason is what we eventually want our life to look like, okay? Because there's 24 hours in every day, Leo, and let's say 8 of them are sleeping. Hopefully that's true. Let's say 8 of them are working and 8 of them are something else. Well, I want to know what this something else is. Okay, I want to know what that 8 hours is. That 1/3 of your life. What's that all about? Why are you doing whatever it is you're doing for a living? Because I think if you put that firmly in place, then there's a million pathways to get to that brochure that is Ken Rusk's life. Okay, there's a million ways to get there. And as long as you're making progress on that puzzle, if you will, that is me, then yeah, you'll go through a lot of different, trials and tribulations, but you'll be focused on that. You'll be driven to get it, and eventually you'll get there.
And how can people find you?
Well, you can go to kenrusk.com. That's one way. You'll see the book. I have a course there that teaches you how to change your life this afternoon. It's not a very expensive course. I think it's $179, and you get a free book with it. So I guarantee if you do that, you'll change the way you see your life. I donate all the money that I get from the books and the courses to first responders and my foundations. It's not a money thing for me. It's about helping people. I think when you're successful, and you've experienced this, when you're successful, the first thing you want to do is you want to turn around and share that knowledge and the wealth of things you've experienced with somebody else to shorten their learning curve. So that's what I'm doing with the book, and that's what I'm doing with the course. And so far, people have given it rave reviews, so I really appreciate that.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you, Leo. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time, and this has been fun.
And thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, tell your friends, and please leave a review.